to it.
Just the nick of time.
Good morning. It is 9:01. I will call the City of Findlay City Planning Commission meeting to order for September 14th. To begin today's meeting, we'll start with roll call.
Mayor Murin.
Here.
Mr. Martin.
Here.
Mr. Dearmont.
Here.
Ms. Schroeder.
Here.
And Mr. Klinger.
Here.
Lovely. Anyone who plans to speak for or against an item, if you could please stand and raise your right hand to be sworn in.
Brought my paper this week. Do you affirm that all the testimony and evidence you are about to give in a case before this commission this day will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and will conform to the facts of the case and the rules of this commission? This you affirm under the pains and penalties of perjury. Please say I do.
Thank you. You may be seated. All right. Approval of the prior meeting minutes. Oh, I always get these out of order. Let's find my meeting minutes. We have the August meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve as circulated?
Motion to approve.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Were there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor of approving the August meeting minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Minutes are approved. Moving into new items. Item number 1, application for zoning amendment ZA-07-2023 filed by the VFW Post 5645 to rezone parcel 570000221230 from R3 small lot residential to C1 local commercial. CPC staff comments.
So this request is located on the south side of Walnut Street between Taylor Street and the north-south railroad tracks. It is zoned R3 small lot, or single-family small lot. On the south side of Walnut is mostly a mix of R3 small lot residential and with some C1 local commercial. To the north, there's a mix of C2 general commercial and I1 light industrial. It is not located within a 100-year floodplain, and the City of Findlay Land Use Plan designates the area as single-family small lot. Site is currently vacant. The applicant is requesting the rezone because they would like to add an accessory building to the site. To do so, they must combine the lots with the abutting parcels that contain the primary structure. They would also need to have everything under the same zoning classification, C1 local commercial. Staff did not have any concerns with this request. So staff recommends approval of application for zoning amendment ZA-07-2023 filed by VFW Post 5645 to rezone parcel 570000221230 from R3 small lot residential to C1 local commercial.
Engineering.
No comment.
Fire prevention.
No comment.
The recommendation before the commission is CPC staff recommends approval of application for zoning amendment ZA-07-2023 filed by VFW Post 5645 to rezone parcel 570000221230 from R3 small lot residential to C1 local commercial. Discussion. Is the applicant here to speak on this item? If you could, please just come forward in case there's any questions. I'll just have you up there. If you could introduce yourself real quick.
Good morning, I'm the Post Commander Dave Rhodes. I think it's a pretty easy request. All we're planning on doing is fencing in the south and the east side and putting a shelter house that we use for our members in the summertime, reunions and stuff like that. That's all we're requesting.
Very good. Was there anyone else that wanted to speak for or against this item? Overall, I felt like it was very straightforward. It would be an improvement to the area. It isn't invasive to the surrounding neighborhood, so I'm supportive of the application. Any other comments from the commission?
You mentioned you were going to screen the south and the east side of that?
Yes, sir. We plan on.
If you could come forward, please, because it is being recorded. And if you can make sure that the microphone has a red light at the bottom as well, that would be great.
Okay. Yeah, what we're planning on fencing from our existing building on the south, heading towards the east, and then up the property line on the east side, all the way back up to Walnut Street within where we're allowed to. I don't know the distances and stuff like that, whatever the zoning tells me I have to do. And that's just to keep people out and make it look nice, basically.
Right.
And then a shelter house on the southeast corner.
Okay, it would appear that the parking of the house adjacent to you is on your property, but
Yes.
you've owned this property for some time?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Would you be adding any to the parking eventually?
No, sir.
Do you have an approximation of the size of the shelter house that you plan to install?
We're planning on a 30 by 60.
I would just, with the statement, just to ensure that it moves forward as presented, I would just add the condition that the fencing be installed as presented.
That would be our first step. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other items from the group? If not, do I have a motion to approve as presented with the condition of fencing?
I'll move to approve. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Hearing no further discussion, all in favor of recommending the approval of zoning amendment ZA-07-2023 with the condition of fencing being added, please say aye after your name is called. Those opposed, nay. Did I do something wrong? You're looking at me.
We can't put conditions on a rezoning.
You know, Matt.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. All right, so you hear that we would like the fencing. Glad to hear you like the fencing. I guess no condition will be added.
And most likely, depending on the construction of the shelter house, it may have to come back to City Planning Commission.
I understand.
At that point, we can definitely discuss the fencing.
Very
Okay.
good.
Can you repeat who made the motion in the second?
Dan and Rob.
Dan and
Motion second.
Okay. Mayor Murin,
Aye.
Mr. Martin,
Aye.
Mr. DeArmond,
Aye.
Ms. Schroeder,
Aye.
and Mr. Klinger.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 2, application for site plan review SP-19-2023 filed by Investec Holdings LLC for Phase 3 of the Horizon Point apartment complex on Lot 41 of the Findlay Commerce Park 4th Edition. CPC staff comments.
So this request is located at the southwest intersection of County Road 99 and Technology Drive. It is zoned M2 multifamily high density. The land to the west is zoned C2 general commercial, but last month at Planning Commission, we reviewed it as a new church site. To the south, it is also zoned M2 multifamily high density. To the east, it's currently zoned a mix of the C2 general commercial and M2 multifamily. It is not located within the 100-year floodplain. This is currently the site. The site's currently vacant farmland. The site was replatted in 2021 to combine it into one parcel and vacate Heartland Court. The second phase of Horizon Point went through CPC in March 2019. So Horizon Point has submitted this site plan to construct their third phase of multifamily in the area. The number of units provided is 85, which is below the threshold for 1 unit per 3,500 square feet of lot size. Lot coverage stands at 33%, which is below the max of 40%. They meet all the minimum setbacks and minimum building separation. There is enough parking provided throughout the site There's a total of 387 parking spaces divided between garage spots, driveway spots, and standard parking throughout the development, and the required minimum was 213. In terms of landscaping, they meet the requirements of the code. They have just enough shrubs, which totals 600 in total, to cover the perimeter land parking lot standards and the foundation plantings for all the buildings. They also have provided 63 trees on site, while they were only required to provide 45. One small item that staff had discussed is that thinking that along County Road 99, County Road 99 is a major thoroughfare, and it's only going to get busier in the future. Right now, there's only a grass buffer between County Road 99 and that interior private drive for the ranch villas on the north side. Staff would request that the applicant add 5 canopy trees and 5 evergreen trees per 100 lineal feet along the north side of the property. So staff recommendation, CPC staff recommends approval of application for site plan review SP-19-2023 filed by Investec Holding LLC for Phase 3 of Horizon Point Apartment Complex on Lot 41 of the Findlay Commerce Park 4th Edition with the following condition: add 5 canopy trees and 5 evergreen trees per 100 lineal feet along the north side of the property.
Engineering.
So no real concerns with the site. With the water service, they are showing a loop service looped water system throughout the site. That is shown in easement, so I'm assuming that will be a public water line as shown within that. One of the biggest things, which we'll just work with the consultant on that, is where the final sizing for the services and all that kind of stuff, and where we're going to be on our meters. So we'll work with you guys on that. For the sizing along that, but no real concerns with the water line. Sanitary service, just like the water line, is a network throughout there to service all the buildings. That one is not shown easement, so I'm assuming that one's a private line. But otherwise, this is a TBR project, so we'll be working with the developer throughout the site process. The site plans did propose 2 detention ponds, and we received the calculations for that, and they do comply with our standards. And then also the plans had a SWIP plan included with that, because this is over 1 acre. That is compliant with that, so just before construction, make sure we have all the permits in hand.
Thank you. Fire prevention.
No comment.
Thank you. So the recommendation before the commission is staff recommends approval of application for site plan review SP-19-2023 filed by Investec Holdings LLC for Phase 3 of the Horizon Point Apartment Complex on Lot 41 of the Findlay Commerce Park 4th Edition with the following condition: add 5 canopy trees and 5 evergreen trees per 100 lineal feet along the north side of the property. Discussion. Dan, what do you got for us?
It's a beautiful day. I don't have anything. The developers will definitely want to do some type of screening up along the front here. So that is not an issue, working with Jeremy on the water services and stuff. So we really have no comment.
Very good.
With that screening on the north, could you get some mounding with that too, possibly?
Yeah, we were hoping that we could get a little bit bigger of a mound. When this plan was first developed, it was prior to ODOT taking the additional 15 feet or 10 or 15 feet. So unfortunately, by them taking that land, it shrunk our mound down. Right now, we're going to be able to get about a 2-foot tall mound in there to have it maintainable. So we'll put that 2-foot mound in there and then go ahead and install the screening on top of that.
Okay. What about some screening on the west side to the church and on the east side to Technology Drive? I see you got landscaping there at the parking, but could we get possibly some trees planted along there too? And maybe and maybe some mounding?
There's a lot of topsoil left over from the other developments, so we're working with the developers on coming up with a mounding plan for the entire complex. Some of the concepts that we have put together were some slight mounding along Technology Drive as well. So they're trying to keep as much topsoil on site so they don't have to pay to take it off. Okay. So yes, working on that. They do intend, we do have to be a little cautious because there are utility easements and stuff in there with too much mounding and additional plantings.
Right.
But again, we don't want to entirely seclude the development. We do want to have some visibility so people can see it. people
Right.
want to see out. So I think, at this point, working with the city on, we've exceeded what we needed to inside, put a little bit on the north side, but we'd like to keep technology kind of as it is, but maybe some landscape mounding,
Okay.
or just mounding itself.
On the east side there too, I think, isn't the utility easement abutting the property line and then like 10 or 15 feet in?
Correct.
So
It's
there's a
actually
little
on our
room,
property, and there is there's a fiber optic vault system right here, and the easements do go outside of the right of way. So again, we have to be sensitive with that, because that does feed that whole development and further south.
I think this is consistent with what we've seen in the last couple of portions of this development. I think you guys do a great job, and they look really nice. Hindsight's 2020. I should have asked for a couple more varieties of color palettes on the properties. They are very good looking. I appreciate that, but it would have been nice to see a little variety among them. You get lost in your neighborhood and forget which one's yours, but appreciate the information and you addressing and working with our team to address concerns prior to coming to the commission. Are there questions or comments from the group?
Just clear, sorry, Dan, is this is the final phase of this project in that area?
That is correct, yes. They do not have any other land unless they purchase more property to the west from Seifert's, but at this point, they're pretty much hemmed in.
Okay, thank you.
I have a couple questions about the ODOT project that's coming and how that's going to affect this area, and this may affect the other item that we have to review too, but it's on. Just quiet. But Jeremy, you can probably help out with this. Does the ODOT project extend all the way to Technology Drive or past it?
It's right at Technology Drive. I think it's right just on the west side of Technology Drive. So it doesn't really extend past that. That's kind of their limit, is right at Technology Drive.
Okay. Do you know, does their project include sidewalks all the way through there, or what's the city's plan?
They do
for-
have a 10-foot multi-use path that is going to be stretching down through there. So I think these plans showed a sidewalk going up to that point. So that's where it'd be kind of a tie-in point. We'd be working with them as they are development in through our sidewalk permit. We would have curb ramps going across to tie into those.
Okay.
But it's on the south side of the roadway as well
Okay.
for the ODOT project. I mean,
Okay.
so it
So-
would tie in.
This site plan doesn't appear to include sidewalks. Are we along 99? Are we wanting to, is that something we want to promote or not? I mean, I know we've only got the church then, and then it's not really something we're affecting.
From my point of view, I would say along 99 at this point would not be, kind of worth going that direction with everything is going through there, because going along Technology Drive, we have that connection down into the neighborhood, and with the church going there and stuff, I think there's going to be some gaps going in as well, and I wouldn't want to just have a dead-end sidewalk. Especially the church went through and they didn't have sidewalks, and now we would have to go back to them and say, now you got to put in sidewalks. I just don't think we have enough foot traffic in that area at this time to make that a requirement. But I think going along Technology Drive, and I did see that on one of the plan sheets, they were extending that up to, I think that is needed for that.
Yeah, I agree. I just wondered overall what the plan was for the area. I don't know if in the future we might see foot traffic developing along there if we get hospital developments. I don't really know what all is coming in there. I don't know that any of us do, so just a question. I may have another question when we get to the other.
The one thing too, Jackie, is if I'm not mistaken, everything east of Technology Drive is going to be a curbed roadway.
Yeah,
Everything
I would
west of
assume.
Technology Drive is still a rural style with the roadside ditch and everything. So trying to get, a sidewalk within that area and the screening with the additional right-of-way and stuff, it's going to be difficult to get
Really
it in there.
tight. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Was there anyone else here that wanted to speak for or against this topic? Okay, other questions or comments from the commission? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Do I have a s-
Second.
Perfect. Any other discussion? All right, Jacob, whenever you're ready.
Mr. Martin?
Aye.
Mr. Jarmett? Aye. Ms. Schroeder?
Aye.
Mr. Klinger?
Aye.
And Mayor Murin.
Aye.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 3, application for conditional use CU-16-2023 filed by Carla Dibb, 422 West Hardin Street to establish a short-term rental at 420 West Hardin Street. Is that correct? Okay, good. CPC staff comments.
Originally, I had the addresses flipped, but so this request is located on the north side of West Hardin Street, to the west of Liberty Street. It is zoned R3 small lot residential. Surrounding neighborhood is a mix of R3 small lot residential, R4 duplex triplex, and M2 multifamily high density. It is not located within a 100-year floodplain, and the City of Findlay Land Use Plan designates the parcel as small lot residential. The building is currently a two-family dwelling. 422 is on the west side, and 420 is on the east side on the alleyway. The applicant, Fuad and Carla Dibb, are the property owners, and they live at 422 West Hardin Street. They'd like to turn 420 West Hardin Street into a short-term rental. The unit would have 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. Since 420 would be only available to book as a single unit, staff would recommend that there be 4 off-street parking spaces. There is a concrete pad to the rear of the house for parking, but it does not appear that they could fit 4 parking spaces on it. I did go out and measure it, and that pad, the first 10 feet goes back about 13 feet, and then it's about 40 feet long, so the remaining 30 has about 18 to 20 feet of depth there. But with the utility pole and the short distance at the front, we thought we could only angle in 3 spots. So in general, though, staff was supportive of the application. Staff would remind the applicant that conditional use permits are revocable in the future if issues are to arise. Staff recommendation: staff recommends approval of the application for conditional use CU-16-2023 filed by Carla Dibb, 422 West Hardin Street to establish a short-term rental at 420 West Hardin Street. And I should have a condition on there to ensure 4 off-street parking spaces are provided.
There were 2 sheets.
Yeah, there are 2
One
sheets.
had the
Yep.
recommendation.
That was
one
my
did not.
original, and then I revised it once I looked at that parking pad.
All right.
So apologies for that.
All right, engineering,
No comment.
fire prevention.
No comment.
All right, so the recommendation before the commission is staff recommends approval of the application for conditional use CU-16-2023 filed by Carla Dibb at 422 West Hardin Street to establish a short-term rental at 420 West Hardin Street. Discussion. Hello, Carla, how are you?
I'm good. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Can you put the microphone down just a little bit more so we hear you
Yes,
nice?
better.
Very good, thank you. Can you tell us a little bit about your project?
Yeah, exactly. We work that unit since May, June, because the last owner had rent that unit. The people destroyed all the house. We start fix it all. Our idea is start rent for the future, for short time, weekend, a week. That is the idea because we work in that project.
Thank you. So obviously with Airbnbs or short-term rentals as we see them, obviously we are always careful at where they go and making sure that we are considerate of the neighborhood, but also they are conditional. So if there's issues that arise and we start getting a lot of complaints, then the permit can be revoked. In this situation, I think that this is a good spot for it. I like that you guys are living right next door, and
Yes.
so you're really going to be the most inconvenienced person if there's an issue.
Yeah.
And so you're probably going to keep a pretty close eye on it. I was glad to hear when it was actually flipped to the one closer to the alleyway, because I do think that fits a little bit better Obviously, the parking would be the big concern, making sure you have 4 parking spots off the street so it's not taking up a bunch of parking in the neighborhood. But overall, I'm okay with giving this a try, and then, if there's issues, revoking the permit. But I think that the location overall makes sense.
Thank you.
I did forget to add, I talked to Carla and Fouad earlier in the week, and they mentioned that they have an agreement with, if you scroll up, that multifamily parking behind that, right across the alley there. They said they did have an agreement for an additional
In
space.
case, yeah, our neighbor, sometimes we use the backside, the house, in case, but usually we have just one car.
I think my only concern with that would be that we would need documentation that is permitted and would address, but I think that would address the parking, because obviously I don't want to just add pavement for the sake of adding pavement. If there's some available elsewhere, that would be.
Is this agreement in writing or just a verbal?
Yes.
Oh, you do have a written agreement with this.
What's it say?
You have a document with John?
No.
Yeah, so if we can just get that to Jacob,
Okay.
like a letter from him saying
Perfect.
that is permitted.
Okay, yes,
Yeah.
I can do it. Perfect.
Well, and I think if that would be permitted, then I think we need to identify on the adjacent property the parking spots that are available for the short-term rental.
Okay.
In other words, by signage or defining that some way. There would always be the option of putting the 4 parking spaces on your property, but you're not intending to do that?
I can understand.
Oh.
Do you think you can get one more spot on your site?
Yes. One more. One, we just
Well,
one.
but they're not big enough to qualify for parking.
You could add another spot
Okay, the backside for the.
somewhere on the backside.
I guess the question for the board is, will you require the 4th spot, or will you consider the shared parking with a documented agreement with the property owner? I think it'd be a challenge for them to add a 4th spot on
Yeah.
their property with the utility pole.
Yeah.
So
If
I'm okay with
it's
the letter.
identified as being parking for the short-term rental, yes.
So if there's a motion made, I would recommend one of the conditions is documentation of the 4th parking spot, and then we will confirm that administratively.
Yep, I agree. I was going to just have the condition of either for street parking or off-street parking on site, or documentation provided to HRPC.
Is that your motion?
If there's, I wanted to make sure, was there anybody else in the audience that wanted to speak for or against this item? If you do, you got to stand up or raise your hand if you're hiding over on the left side. Was there anyone that wanted to speak for or against this item? Okay.
Matt, I was a little I didn't quite understand what they meant by short-term rental. I did see the definition of short-term in the code, but that would be like a maximum of 180 days as a short-term definition.
The new proposal is, short-term is defined as a period of less than 28 days.
Oh, less than 28 days.
So they intend to use this as an Airbnb. In the new code update, we clearly tie that to our existing definition of bed and breakfast. It is something that our office is wanting to look at further, on how other communities regulate Airbnbs, but it was not something that we felt we could get done in time for this update. But with this update, we did just want to tie Airbnbs are regulated under our bed and breakfast regulation.
Okay.
Other questions or comments? Hearing none, I will motion to approve the conditional use application, excuse me, CU-16-2023, filed by Carla Dibb at 422 West Hardin Street to establish a short-term rental at 420 West Hardin Street with the condition that 4 off-street parking spots be located on premise or a shared parking agreement be provided to HRPC.
Second.
Any final discussion? All right, Jacob, whenever you're ready.
Mr. Diarmid,
Aye.
Ms. Schroeder,
Aye.
Mr. Klinger,
Aye.
Mayor Mirren,
Aye.
and Mr. Martin.
Aye.
Very good.
We can follow up after this.
Okay, thank you.
Item number 4, application for preliminary plot PP-02-2023 filed by Mardic Investments, Inc. for a commercial subdivision and creation of a public roadway in part southwest 4th of the Section 36 in Allen Township. CPC staff comments.
So this request is located on the south side of County Road 99, east of Technology Drive. The area is a mix of C2 general commercial and M2 multifamily high density. It is not located within a 100-year floodplain, and the City of Findlay Land Use Plan designates the parcel as regional commercial. The site is currently vacant. Staff analysis, the proposed plat would subdivide the area with a new lot and dedicate right-of-way. The parcel would be 9.7 acres, abutting County Road 99. There would be a street extending from County Road 99 south to a future expansion of Midwest Court. The rest of the parcel would remain as a single parcel. 2 of the review items for a preliminary plat include the following. In the case where the subdivider wishes to subdivide a given area but wishes to begin with only a portion of the total area, the preliminary plat shall include the proposed general layout for the entire area. The part which is proposed to be subdivided first shall be clearly superimposed upon the overall plan in order to illustrate clearly the method of development which the subdivider intends to follow. Each subsequent plat shall follow the same procedure until the entire area controlled by the subdivider is subdivided. And the second item is statement of proposed use of the lots, giving type and number of dwelling units and type of business or industry. At the time that I was doing the staff report, the preliminary plat did not include a proposed general layout for the entire area. It does not indicate proposed future uses of the lots for the entirety of the site either. And without this information, staff recommended that the request be tabled. So staff recommends tabling of application for preliminary plat PP-02-2023 filed by Mardic Investments, Inc. for a commercial subdivision and a creation of a public roadway in part of the southwest quarter of the Section 36 in Allen Township.
Engineering,
No additional comments.
fire prevention.
No comment.
So the recommendation before the commission is staff recommends tabling of application for preliminary plat PP-02-2023 filed by Mardic Investments, Inc. for a commercial subdivision and creation of a public roadway in the southwest 4th of the Section 36 in Allen Township. Discussion.
My name is Tim Gronke. I work for Dale Management, so I represent the owners of the property. I guess my general comments are our intention is not to develop this property ourselves. The purpose of doing this plat is we intend to sell that 9.7 acre parcel. We intend to sell off all of the property at this point in time. So it's difficult for me today to tell you exactly what's going to go on every piece of every part of the property out there. I can tell you the property to the east of the roadway is or will be owned by Blanchard Valley, so obviously that's going to be healthcare related. The property to the south is actually identified on there as multifamily. We've been working with a multifamily developer for the last year and a half. They've, for the moment, put their plans on hold just given the economy, but that will be multifamilies. You guys probably know that was rezoned not too long ago. To me, really the only piece of this property that's unidentified is the roughly 11 acres to the west that Dan's identifying, and about 2 acres to the south. And I could sit here and tell you it'll be a Starbucks or a Chick-fil-A or a grocery store, but I don't know that until I get to the point of selling the property. And what I don't want to do is sit up here and tell you that, and then something different goes in there and you're unhappy. And furthermore, I don't want to necessarily subdivide that and plat those other two pieces, because I don't know what my future buyer is going to want to do, and then we have to go through this process all over again. So, although yes, we probably haven't identified everything, I think perhaps it's a little misleading that it may appear that nothing on there has been identified. It's really, to me, a very small portion of it that hasn't been identified yet.
So, I'm always encouraged to see activity in this area. I think this section holds a huge amount of potential. And I know over the past couple of years, as we've had various discussions, there's been a lot of discussions on how this can be developed. And one of my biggest concerns with the proposal in front of us is really the roadway location. As we've been looking at that larger area, I'd be concerned that putting the roadway in here, it seems farther west than some of the previous designs that we had discussed. And I understand that you're a little limited, right? Because the property to the east is not on your property. I guess my question would be, if we table for a month, is it detrimental to your project that we could have in that time frame conversations about shared infrastructure investment into this area so that we're not hindering some of the other developments that have been discussed? And Dan, I know you've been a part of those, so you might have, am I looking at this roadway location wrong, or is this farther west than what we have previously discussed?
It's actually in the location that ODOT has designated it based on the diverging diamond plans. So the location, originally when we talked, this thing works, it was actually, we talked about lining it up with the common property line for TJD across the street. However, when ODOT did their drawings, they shifted it to the east of that property line. So in the future, if I'm not mistaken, they have a service drive that is going to make an intersection here that's going to come over and service up here. So that's why ODOT established it there. So we put that location based on those plans. So we're kind of dictated by what ODOT did.
Jeremy, you agree?
Yeah, they have a service drive up through there. That was one of the things I looked at and pulled up the ODOT plans, and he does have that in the correct location.
Well, I stand corrected. Good, that makes me happy. I thought I must have remembered the previous conversations where it was farther, or was lined up with the other property.
Correct. As Tim also stated, this piece right here, when Blanchard Valley came in and purchased the 20 acres, they had a concept. COVID hit, the economy turned. They've since kind of change of helms as well. So, but throughout the entire process, Blanchard Valley understood that they had a gap between where the quote public roadway would be. And I believe they're in contract or working with the developers to purchase this area. So Blanchard Valley would have a contiguous property to the public roadway. So as Tim stated, this property right here would not be a 200-foot devil strip or where you're going to have a bunch of small little outlots along here. That would become part of the Blanchard Valley property.
Is the new bridge south of the existing bridge, or is it north? It's what?
Yeah,
South.
so they're keeping the existing bridge, and they're going to build a new one to the south.
South, okay.
Is ODOT including a left turn lane through this section?
I'm trying to recall those plans.
Like all through here?
Did they? I think
we
they might have.
specifically requested one for this roadway.
Yeah, we've been working with them a while on maybe possibly if there's development, we want to have that or that type now. And I'm thinking they did. I know it's wider through that area, but that would be something I would have to double check. I've seen them 100 times, but now I can't picture it.
Jeremy, what is this right here? This diagonal?
Power lines, I think, isn't it?
Power or gas?
I think that's the gas line. Is
Yeah,
that
that's a gas line.
that's one of the gas.
Okay.
The power lines are further south down here.
Okay.
So there's a gas line here and there's a power line, gas line that run down through this way.
Is this, where is the Allen Township property line? Is it here? Or this has been annexed, has it not?
The entire property has been annexed, so it's in the city of Findlay.
Oh,
Yeah.
The golf course is in Liberty Township. It used to be right here. This little strip right here was still in Allen Township, but annexation went through when we did the Casto plans. So I believe this property is now in the city of Findlay. This is Liberty, so this is all city of Findlay.
Okay. Why did, I guess I was confused because why did it say Allen Township, I guess?
In the description, the legal description is that the land is section ground still. So it doesn't have like it still uses that description in the
Okay.
legal description.
It's city of Findlay.
Okay. These lots here, this is all zoned the same then, correct?
Correct.
Even though those are intended outlots along
Technology Drive.
Technology
Yeah,
Drive then.
those are platted when Technology Drive came in, so there's actually 4 platted lots right through here.
Okay.
Tim, did you get any more information about the purchaser's kind of plan?
I asked them if they had a plan that we can incorporate in here, and they said they were not to that point yet.
Okay.
I can tell you it's a plan for a hotel and retail, but at this point, they're not that far along in what they want to do.
Okay. From a staff perspective, it is added information that Blanchard Valley will be purchasing this property. This was one of our concerns. It's thin and narrow. How is that going to be developed? Still have a little bit, I guess, this section, with no curb cut here, kind of interesting how that'll be, how traffic flow would work through that section. I assume it'd be, what's that, east-west across private property
Or
potentially?
no, it could come off of Midwest on the south.
Yeah, our anticipation was either it would come off Midwest on the south, or because we still own the 3 lots along Technology Drive to potentially grant easements if necessary. And we do still own the 2 acre, we will still own the 2 acres or so south of the 9.7, so if we needed to put an easement across there, we could.
I believe we have a hospital representative. Are you able to confirm or deny that that you guys have been working through getting additional property in that area?
Yeah, I was just thinking, what if the hospital doesn't buy that? Then what does that do to the road?
I feel comfortable with the proposal based off of the road location being where it's at and my knowledge of conversations occurring related to the property to the east. How about that?
Tim, Tim or Dan, do you know how many acres this site is approximately?
You can correct me, Dan, but I believe the long piece is about 11 acres, and the remainder below the 9.7 is around 2 acres.
Okay.
So total about 13.
Okay.
Would you guys envision, I know this is probably getting farther in development of this purchaser, is this going to be a detention pond just for that site, or would you guys envision a regional detention pond?
At this point, the way it's set up is each parcel will be responsible for its own stormwater management, whether it be stormwater management for water quality as well as detention. With the roadway development, we'll have a temporary detention facility that will be able to be relocated. Again, without the owners not being the quote development team, they don't know where to put a regional pond at this point without negatively impacting what could or could not transpire with, the rest of this property up here. So at this point, we feel it's the best bet that they do their own individual stormwater management practices. This area, the storm sewer that's down on Midwest and the storm sewer that's down back in here is all part of the master plan that goes through the storm sewer, through the apartments, through the large pond behind the homes. This area was designed to go into that initially when all that was brought up. Since that development, the EPA's come in with higher requirements. So each facility is essentially going to have to comply with its own stormwater regulations, pretty much in compliance with the city standards.
Will all those storm detention areas, though, still filter down through this way to the one that's on the?
Correct.
Okay.
It'll come down Midwest Court through a pipe system that comes through Horizon Point, goes around, and then over into here where the larger pond and ditch that goes through the subdivision.
So all the area in this development here.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, everything south of 99 and west of 75 up to the golf course was designed when we did this pond initially.
Now, it would appear that you're probably going to lose a little property up here when the ODOT does their. They're probably going to need more.
That's correct. Yeah, ODOT has already acquired all of the right of way. You can see where this proposed line is here. That is the quote new right of way line, and as it gets closer to I-75, it does get out into the embankment area a little bit more. But again, it's it's more on the Blanchard property. They've obviously owning the land. They've obviously sold the property to ODOT or whatever entity acquired it. So
Okay.
yes, it will get a little bit wider there.
So based off of the discussion, I will motion to approve now I gotta get to my proper page here. Motion to approve the preliminary plat PP-02-2023 filed by Mardic Investments, Inc. for a commercial subdivision and creation of public roadway in the southwest quarter of Section 36 in Allen Township. Is there a second?
A second.
Motion and a second, and I apologize. So good thing we're in the discussion portion. Was there anyone else here that wanted to speak for or against this item? So please stand or raise your hand or come up to the podium. All right, very good. Hearing no further discussion, Jacob, whenever you're ready.
Ms. Schroeder,
Aye.
Mr. Klinger,
Aye.
Mayor Murin,
Aye.
Mr. Martin,
Aye.
Mr. Yarmouth.
Aye.
Thank you. Appreciate your
Thank
time.
you. Thank you.
All right, moving on to item number 5, application for zoning amendment ZA-08-2023 filed by Dr. Lai, Racetrack Petroleum LLC, and 11,600 County Road 99 LLC, and 11,732 County Road 99 LLC to provide initial zoning for 57.691 acres of property in Allen Township upon annexation to the city of Findlay. CPC staff comments.
So this request is located on the north side of County Road 99, just east of I-75. To the south and east along County Road 99, it is zoned C2 General Commercial. It is not located within the 100-year floodplain. The City of Findlay Land Use Plan designates the parcel as regional commercial along County Road 99 and industrial for everything north of that. Parcel history. The only buildings that are currently in the request are located at 11,732 County Road 99 and 11,600 County Road 99. Flag City Furniture 2 occupies 11,600 County Road 99, while the Can Do and production facility is located at 11,732 County Road 99. The rest of the site, as you can see, is currently vacant. The applicant has requested that the entire site be zoned, be given zoning of I-1 light industrial, except for the parcel owned by 11,732 County Road 99 LLC, and the east 1.351 acres of 11,600 County Road 99 LLC's parcel that abuts it. The west 1.315 acres of 11600 County Road 99. County Road 99's parcel will be split and sold to Racetrack to provide land for the expansion of Speedway Drive to the north. When considering rezoning requests, the Findlay Land Use Plan is one of the key components to consider. The Findlay Land Use Plan designates that land along County Road 99 as regional commercial and the land to the north as industrial. Given that the request is in line with the land use plan, staff was supportive of the initial zoning request. So staff recommends that Findlay City Planning Commission recommend approval of application for zoning amendment ZA-08-2023 filed by Dr. Lai, Racetrack Petroleum LLC, and 11600 County Road 99 LLC and 11732 County Road 99 LLC to provide additional zoning for 57.691 acres of property in Allen Township upon annexation into the city of Findlay.
Engineering,
No comment.
fire prevention.
No comment.
So the recommendation before the commission is the CPC staff recommends approval of the application for zoning amendment ZA-08-2023 filed by Dr. Lai, and I'm going to say and friends, since there's so many numbers and letters in that name, all those other names, to provide initial zoning for 57.691 acres of property in Allen Township upon annexation into the city of Findlay. Dr. Lai, how are you today?
Pretty good.
Good to see you.
Could I do just a point of clarification on the history here?
Thank you.
So, who said thank you?
I did.
Okay. So, this is, the annexation before us is for Racetrack and Dr. Lai's property, which is 57 acres right here. The initial request to the commissioners, I believe this is Township Road 100. It went north of Township Road 100. Through their process, that was removed. And there was a little confusion on our end because they gave us 100 pages and we missed the one that said it was reduced. So our initial report said 130 some acres. Then we realized that the portion north of Township Road 100 was removed. So just for clarification, there is no property north of Township Road 100 being considered for annexation. It's simply the 57 acres in this area.
Thank you. All right, now Dr. Lai, any additional comments you would like to add on this request?
Well, at the end, this one.
Yep, yeah, it was working.
Okay.
Just like you were pushing it at the beginning. It was on then. It's that button right there. Yep.
There you go.
And this is my property too. And the north here is my property too. I like to next to the Findlay, city of Findlay, for the future development for the city of Findlay.
Yes. Yep, we appreciate that. So as Dr. Lai said, for the public, eventually he would like to annex his other property. For today's consideration, we're just looking at what the commissioners have approved for initial annexation, which is consistent with the racetrack development, and then bringing your additional abutting property into the city as that roadway is developed. So from my perspective, this is consistent with what we had discussed when we approved the racetrack site plan. It's consistent, again, with the land use map, and is not invasive to the community. One thing I would note, as I know this group has talked about, and the public may be aware, as part of our zoning map update, we are adding a classification that would be agricultural. So in the future, had this property, if we had that in place, when this was brought in, Dr. Lai would have been able to just keep it as an agricultural zoning classification, or chosen industrial, commercial, or residential as he's currently doing. But in the future, that may be beneficial use of that because it kind of just keeps it as green space, as a placeholder, until you determine what the specific use is. And then you would be able to rezone. No real impact on this, but I think worth noting that that's an example of where that classification could be used. But overall, I think that this makes sense, is inconsistent with the conversations we've had over the last 6 months at the commission. Other questions or comments from the group?
Is this part of your property ownership too, but it's just not being?
No, it's not my. It's a retired marathon employee.
Okay.
Property, and the husband died. The wife still alive.
It's a separate owner who's
Yeah.
not
separate owner.
interested in
Separate owner.
annexation at this time.
I have a little bit of confusion related to, in here it says except, it's going to be zoned I-1 light industrial except for 11,732 and 11,600. What is that about?
So this property, it makes like an L shape here. So
Okay.
this would be C2 general commercial, and then this property comes like this and goes like that. So they're gonna split this. So this would also be C2, and this half is part of the extension of Speedway Drive that Racetrack will acquire. So that will be I-1 to be consistent with the racetrack site.
Okay, so that little leg down there with the
So-
buildings is going to be C2, and the
Yep,
rest
but
of
then
it is
everything
I-1.
else is I-1.
Yeah, so
Okay,
to the east, along 99 to the east of the new
the new road.
Speedway Drive, that small section will be C2, and the rest will be I-1.
How come none of our maps
That's very
explain
confusing.
that? I mean, this was
It's
really
not explained at all
poorly.
on that.
It was bad. I mean, we have all these maps, but they're not helpful.
So
I don't know.
the confusion, the problem with this is that the properties haven't been split apart in that.
That is one of the challenges.
So technically, right now, we're saying this is the zoning classification that's needed for a racetrack to be able to continue with their development. They need to know that they're going to have that zoning classification. But the property owners have to still go through and split out some of those other parcels. So in essence, depending on the timing of the process, they could get for a short while the I-1 if we didn't include that statement, but they don't really want that. So we're just moving forward with this process, and then we'll have to come back and do those other two properties separately. So it is confusing, but it's just because the timing and structure of the property and property ownership.
Well, the land will be zoned in this, it will be zoned as it states. Because zoning can cross property lines.
Right.
We don't love it. So, I agree. We should have highlighted, drawn this as red and this as gray for light industrial. That would have been more clear.
Yeah. Okay, I'm good with it. I just,
So are we doing that today?
Yes,
We're-
so when a property is annexed into the city, it technically has no zoning. So today's meeting, we're making a recommendation to city council that this should be zoned predominantly I-1 with a small section of C2.
Okay, we need to clarify that then, I think, on our motion.
Well, I mean, it's, rather than rezone, it's in initial zoning. That's the only difference. It goes through the same process. Oh,
Yeah, so in the motion, I will separate that out in some fashion. Was there anyone else that wanted to speak for or against this item? Dr. Lai, we're going to allow. If you could please introduce yourself.
Brendan Sexton with Racetrack. Just want to thank the commission again for your time this morning. Racetrack is very excited to be a part of the city of Findlay. We're completing some of the conditions of our site plan approval from last year, being annexing into the city, and also dedication of the extension of Speedway Drive as public. So we appreciate your consideration. And then point of clarification, we will be combining the three separate parcels that have been split and put together for our project, and those will all be cohesive I-1 zoning. So just wanted to point that out, but happy to answer any questions.
what's
you
the
have as
overall
well.
schedule now for this?
We are waiting on one permit from OEPA for the public sanitary sewer installation along Speedway Drive, and then we'll be ready to bid the project.
and
How long will it take us to get through this other
Couple more months. I don't have the official schedule in front of me. There's more readings at City Council to finalize the annexation, and then there may be a 30-day period, but we're near the end of a long process here.
Okay.
It's been a long road, but we see the light at the end of the tunnel.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Was there anyone else here that wanted to speak for or against this item? This gentleman's making eyes at me like he really needs to speak. Yeah, if you could come forward and please introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name is Mark Moss, and I was just curious, does Racetrack have an idea how many acres will be used in their project?
Yes, we have previously approved their site plan, and it's pretty much and correct me if I'm wrong, it's pretty much just south of the tree line.
Oh, so that one, back into
Okay.
it.
It extends a little bit north of the tree line. The total acreage is 9 acres. Sorry.
Okay. And here again, just to reiterate, the motion today to zone this is for the 57 acres. That's what will be voted on today, am I correct?
Well, so yes, the 57 acres is what we'll be voting on today, and we'll split it out just like we were just saying between the commercial and industrial. Yep, but nothing north of Township Road 100.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep, you're welcome.
The county commissioners reduced the amount of the annexation from 130, they removed 70 acres. So the city of Findlay cannot expand that request. It's a two-part process, the county side and then the city side. And so the city the 57 acres for the annexation cannot be expanded. It's only what the commissioners sent over.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Other questions or comments? People hide over here. I'm going to rope off that area. All right, with that, hearing no further discussion, I will motion to approve application for zoning amendment ZA-08-2023 filed by Dr. Lai, Racetrack Petroleum LLC, 11,600 County Road 99 LLC, and 11,732 County Road LLC to provide initial zoning for 57.691 acres of property in Allen Township upon annexation, stipulating that they will be separated with approximately 11 acres being the, is it C1 regional commercial or C2?
C2, I think.
So it's C2 for the 11,732 County Road 99 LLC, plus the east 1.351 acres of 11,600 County Road 99 LLC.
Okay, say the 11,600 County Road LLC has how much?
1.315 acres.
Okay. So all of 11,732 is going to be C2. And then 1.135 of the 11,600 is
And
C2.
I believe they intend on combining those once it's done.
Correct. And then all of Dr. Lai and all of Racetrack are industrial, I-1. Okay, so I'm going to reread this in some fashion. Okay. So staff I will motion to approve the application for zoning amendment ZA-08-2023, providing I-1 light industrial zoning classification to the property owned by Dr. Lai and the property owned by Racetrack Petroleum LLC, as well as a portion of 11,600 County Road 99 LLC, and providing C2 general commercial zoning classification to approximately 1.135 acres of 11,600 County Road 99 LLC, and the entire C2 zoning classification, the property owned by 11,732 County Road 99 LLC. I would like the person that seconds that to have to repeat it all. I'm just
not
kidding.
second.
All right, just kidding. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All right. Any further discussion on this item?
Yeah, I think we need to redo the math before you take it to city council. This is really, it's just boilerplate, and it's not specific to what we're really talking about.
All right, hearing no further discussion, Jacob, whenever you're ready.
Mr. Klinger,
Aye.
Mayor Miriam,
Aye.
Mr. Martin,
Aye.
Mr. Diarmid,
Aye.
Ms. Schroeder.
Aye.
Lovely, thank you. All right, moving on to item number 6, application for zoning amendment ZA-09-2023, filed by Nipper Industrial Holdings LLC to rezone lots 1, 5, and 6 of the Findlay Center for Business and Technology, 1700 Fostoria Avenue, from C2 General Commercial to I1 Light Industrial. CPC staff comments.
So the request is located on, no, this is not the right comments. So this is located on the north side of Fostoria Avenue. It is zoned C2 General Commercial. To the south, there's a mix of multifamily and R3, I believe, or R1 large lot residential. To the west, it is zoned R3 small lot residential. Along Fostoria Avenue, there are 3 lots of office institution. So the site is currently home to Shelley Company and Metzer Breckheisen LLC. It has housed a number of businesses over the years since the closing of the RCA. Originally, the parcel was zoned industrial for the RCA site, and in 2004, it was part of a PUD, planned unit development, that had a mix of commercial and industrial uses. Lots 1, 5, and 6. So 1 is the main. Lot 5 and 6 are those. It's a triangle piece, kind of in the corner there. Thanks, Dan. Those were listed as business technology zoning, which allowed for a mix of commercial and industrial uses. After the PUDs were removed from the code, the parcel was given C2 general commercial zoning back in 2011. Staff analysis. So the history of the site shows that that the use of the site has primarily been industrial since the original construction. Although currently zoned commercial, some light industrial activities have always been a part of the site. Given the history of the zoning and the use of the site, staff was supportive of rezoning back to I1 light industrial to better reflect the use of the site. So staff recommends approval of the application for zoning amendment ZA-09-2023 filed by Nipper Industrial Holdings LLC to rezone lots 1, 5, and 6 of the Findlay Center for Business and Technology, 1700 Fostoria Avenue, from C2 General Commercial to I1 Light Industrial.
Engineering,
No comment.
fire prevention.
No comment.
So the recommendation before the commission is staff recommends approval of the application for zoning amendment ZA-09-2023 filed by Nipper Industrial Holdings LLC to rezone lots 1, 5, and 6 of the Findlay Center for Business and Technology located at 1700 Fostoria Avenue from C2 General Commercial to I1 Light Industrial. Discussion.
I'd just like to kind of reiterate what Jake talked about. This property was originally developed in the 1950s as an industrial property. It was the old RCA, and then it went to another semiconductor manufacturer. So ever since the construction of it, it's always been an industrial use. When the PUD was put together, we established the 3 business lots up front and retained the rest of it as the business technology, because that's when we had the college in there. But again, the majority of the rear of the property was being used as industrial and warehousing. That's why we set the zoning up that way. The PUD was approved. When the city came through and eliminated the PUDs, it was done globally through the entire city of Findlay zoning. So it was not individual parcels. Individual parcel owners were not notified. It was done via notifications in the paper. So at that point there, the owners didn't really realize that their property was being rezoned because there was no formal acknowledgement or formal letter submitted to them. So what happened is obviously the map gets modified and the owners didn't know, became C2. The industrial and warehousing use continued throughout that whole process, from one owner to the next owner to the next owner. And even during that process of person A selling it to person B to person C, if there's no title opinion or zoning report done, they're not going to know what the actual zoning is and what you can and cannot do. When somebody goes in to purchase the building, they realized it was an industrial building. It's been used as industrial ever since they knew, so they just went on the premise that it was, when it was zoned, or it was zoned industrial. What kind of brought this up recently was when we were in here a couple weeks ago or months ago for the Croy's building, it was brought up that the adjoining property was C2, and there was questions about all of the trucks. And then when we started to investigate it a little bit more, because these obviously are my clients as well, I advised them, let them know that, hey, this is zone C2, and currently what's going on right now is an industrial use. So that's why we're in front of you today, is to, I guess, get the rezoning back to what it has been since the 1950s and what it's maintained to be used as before. And again, I'm not sure how it was designated as C2, but obviously with it being an industrial use since the 1950s, my clients would like to get it rezoned back to the industrial classification.
And I'd like to add a few comments. This does as we've all heard, it has a complex history, has a long history of being I-1. The current owner purchased the property as C2. I have check marks on both sides of this argument. I don't really have, to summarize, I don't have an issue with this being I-1. However, I do feel like there's maybe been some unfulfilled promises or unfulfilled conversations. And I know we have a property owner, one of the front property owner, who has a lot of concerns. This did go to City Planning Commission a couple years ago. And at City Planning Commission, there was discussion about not parking trucks and storing trucks, and that's kind of an unfulfilled promise. This is supposed to be, this is a shared access agreement. And I feel like, it's kind of a roadway, but it's not really defined as a roadway, So, in this whole process, I really would like to look at it and try to work with the applicant and maybe try to address some of the current site issues. Truck access, where truck access should be, currently a lot of truck access goes through here, not through the light. Can this road be defined a little bit and some landscaping be put up to, and that was the discussion we had 3 or 4 years ago when this initially came through.
And that was never completed.
So it was, the landscaping was kind of administratively put back to regional planning at that time. And then the property owner made a suggestion that said, hey, let me work with these property owners and whatever they want. And I agreed, that said, yes, work with the property owners on the screening. I didn't anticipate that those property owners said, well, we don't need any screening. So I thought the people living next to it would have a fairly strong opinion and want something. So there's just been a lot on this property, but in some ways, I made the change on the zoning map. What I don't know is if I had a conversation with economic development who owned it at the time, or if I incorrectly transferred the PUD in translation. My memory's not that good to realize what happened to all 20,000 parcels in the city. But I don't have an issue with I-1. I would like to identify a few areas where maybe we can fix a few of the issues on the site and be a win-win for everybody.
I would agree with that, because I think requesting the I-1 gives us a good opportunity to view that screening or request that screening and definition of that access roadway to the back of the 3 lots out front, and make that a part of the change.
So, and the tricky part of a rezoning is we can't put conditions upon it,
Ooh.
but we can, you know, the most we can do is kind of a handshake deal amongst civilized people, or and this is not my preferred method, because I don't know if the timing works for the applicants, and there's a lot of other factors. With the potential forthcoming adoption of a PUD, you know, in a couple months, we could signal that we could work through the PUD process where we could put, you know, design standards and all that. I don't think that's the applicant's preferred method, but Dan has signaled that the applicants could be willing to work with the city.
Yeah, I know the current owners have reached out to the 3 property owners here. 2 of the 3 are here right now. I'm not sure if there's a representative from the bank, but there has been dialogue between the current landowners about this roadway and improving it, cleaning it up. I know, if I'm not mistaken, right now this has been kind of repaved. This area here, I think in the past few years it has. Ray, I'm sure will get up and talk about that a little bit more. So there has been dialogue with the owner here and these property owners to work to an agreement. To be honest with you, I want to say that this was probably something that was forgotten about. We knew they knew that access road was there. It's a platted easement. It's in the deed restrictions. The maintenance is strictly on this lot there. So if I had to guess, that's probably what happened. It's kind of out of sight, out of mind. They're bringing the trucks back in here. This is set up mainly for, you know, the employees and smaller vehicles. So, but based on the last plans here, you know, the Croys created this buffer, you know, Van Gutten's created that buffer, the bank created that buffer. So we're trying to create the south side of it. If I'm not mistaken, you know, you can see this island's been put in. So again, I think they're willing to work with the city within reason. But, you know, the intent would be to go ahead and try to get it back to the I-1 zoning classification.
So Dan, I'm glad to hear, you know, acknowledging that we've missed a couple of items here, and obviously we can't really rehash the past, just figure out a plan for the future. And the one thing though that has bothered me about this is, and I could be totally mistaken, but I'm pretty sure when this came to us maybe 2 or 3 years ago for part of the split, or there was something going on, and we said, you know, there needed to be a fence just for equipment storage. And I'm pretty sure if I went back, we very specifically talked about truck traffic and all of that, and that was not something that we were interested in having at that time for that conversation. I think today what I would prefer to see happen is tabling the rezone. As Matt stated, we can't put conditions. What I would rather see is an agreement drafted up or something among the property owners and the individuals involved with this deed on a property improvement plan for this area that specifies the work that will be done to add a landscape island, improve this road, you know, re-clarify the maintenance agreement that needs to occur. I haven't heard a lot of concerns from the western boundary neighborhood. It seems like the screening that's in place currently addresses that. I think the main concern is the truck traffic. So I'm not an engineer, so I'll leave it to you guys if we need to try to designate the other route as, you know, the signaled intersection as the truck entrance. But I think I understand this property, it's a large enough property, it abuts the railroad where this can be an industrial use, but I think that we also need to make some modifications to the property for it not to get out of hand. And I know, when we're talking about zoning changes, I always think, and I know Matt always thinks, what's the worst thing that can happen here? Once a zoning change occurs, that opens the door for it to become more intense of a use. And so giving it that in I-1 light industrial right now, I wouldn't be comfortable with, not because of the existing operations that are occurring there, but for what it opens it up to for other uses if it were to transfer with that zoning. So that's where I'm currently, the path I'm currently thinking on. Yeah, Eric?
So the one thing I would like to add to this is when this came through in 17, 18, 19, somewhere in there, and the agreement was with the neighbors to add that screening between the outdoor storage along with the fencing of the material that they were storing, and there was no truck traffic or whatever. Once activity started picking up, I did receive numerous calls from neighbors along the church area across the street. So there was a lot more what's going on in there. I thought we were supposed to have a landscaping buffer. So I just want to make note of that.
Thank you.
Matt, I'm still a little confused here. We're changing request to change the zoning. Why can't we have that request follow the zoning requirements for screening though? I mean, you say you can't put conditions on the rezoning, but what mechanism is there for securing the screening as it should be?
That could occur at the site plan, but this building's already constructed.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
So there is no opportunity.
potentially not in this situation. No. And Rob just
So back
whispered.
to her, let's table it until we get
I think
what we want.
Yeah,
right?
I think it'd be good.
I'm in agreement with that.
If you want to clarify, but if we do extend table and wait for the PUD process, there's opportunity there,
I
or
did,
no?
I did like the mayor's, I think the mayor's suggestion was potentially quicker for the applicant, in which they kind of write up an agreement and then show that to us. The agreement states these things, and then that agreement is kind of outside this process, but it gives us confidence that we can move forward with rather than waiting 3 months for the PUD and then starting that process. They could come back next month with an agreement signed off by the property owners, kind of addressing their concerns, and then we could feel comfortable moving forward.
I agree.
But what do we know what is going to be satisfiable to you guys?
I think the main thing is the screening and truck traffic plan, and then just kind of reiterating that the road maintenance agreement will be upheld. Those are my 3 things.
Yeah, personally, I'd like to see on the north side of that access road about a 10-foot green strip with some plantings and stuff in it to really define that.
Dan, I know there's a couple other folks that wanted to speak on this item, and that may give us a little more direction on what is needed to address the issues. So if you'd like to come forward, Mr. Van Gutten. And if you could please introduce yourself and which property you represent.
I'm Ray Van Gutten, and I own 1610 Fostoria Avenue. I don't think you guys want all this paperwork that you're gonna have in.
Oh, we love paper.
I only have 4 of them. Anyway, I purchased property at 1610 Fostoria Avenue. I think it was here last time. Right there.
Yeah.
In 2005, Ward Abbey approached me to build a office building for, at that time it was A.G. Edwards. I built the building for them with the understanding, we had the PUD that was created and which is in there, and the deed restrictions. But it was going to be a business and technology center back in here where businesses come in, are developed, and then move on to other places, or in our case, we're in the front there. Well, I really didn't know that the zoning ever changed, but about a year and a half, 2 years ago, I noticed that the truck traffic really increased. And there's only one way they can go in and out, that they're allowed to go in and out, and it's right down here. There's no light at that intersection. That I guarantee you that road's not built to take the truck traffic that was designed there.
They can't use this for truck traffic?
Well, there's a sign up says no truck traffic.
Oh, is that right? Oh,
I saw a truck go in there yesterday. I thought maybe they were using that.
But they do, but
Yeah.
there is a sign up says no truck traffic. So they've directed all the traffic down to my end. I have recently talked in the past 2 days to neighbors on the neighborhood right there, right here, and there's a lady here that lives across the street here that's with us today. I specifically asked if they had heard that, noticed any truck traffic, and the comments from the three that I talked to was, "Oh yes, definitely." And they also said that one lady said that she hears it between 3:30 and 4 in the morning too. So, there are. And then across the street, they've said that they've had problems getting in and out of this driveway right there with the trucks going both ways, coming down Fostoria Avenue and coming out. You have a mess right in that area sometimes in the mornings. My contention is that, I bought the property thinking that I probably didn't know that was industrial back there at the time. I bought it with the idea that it was going to be a business and technology center, and then it developed. That never really materialized. I know that when Nipper bought it in 2017, it was C2, and it's just, the truck traffic has continued and has pretty much increased over the past year and a half to 2 years. So to me, that's a violation of the building code right now. Two, if you look at the declaration of in the deed restrictions, it talks about if they're going to store stuff, it has to be stored in the back. And it specifically states in there's nothing to be to the west unless a concrete block wall separates it to keep it out of the view of the neighbors from across the street here. So my biggest contention is I have the hospital now in my building, and I have all that truck traffic, and I'm not in the building during the day, so I don't know. I don't know if they're hearing it, but I do know that the neighbors all hear the noise. So if they're hearing it in their houses, I'm sure the hospital's hearing it in their offices. So that's my concern. I just, is there another way to enter this area with trucks? If there is, I'm for that. I don't know if there's any way out the back way, out to Bright Road. Don't know if that's a possibility. That'd be kind of a mess though, and have another light in that area. But there's got to be something come up with, something agreed upon here. I bought that property with the idea too that back road, the access road around there, was going to be eventually finished. Well, 15 years, it's never been finished. It's just.
I'm sorry, which access road are you referring to?
Around the back, that access. It's supposed to be an access road around the back there. There is access, but it's potholes and everything else.
There is an access easement.
55-foot easement there.
An access easement that goes like this for these three properties.
So
is this a curb cut right here? Right there. Does this
that's
property?
going away.
It's temporary.
Oh, it's temporary. Okay, all right.
So there will be two accesses, the light and the one down at the other end.
So just two quick items. It's my understanding that like your declaration of restrictions, though are very helpful for us to reference, those are not enforceable by the city of Findlay. That would be a civil action to hold accountability.
Yeah.
However, my question to you is, based off of the conversation at the beginning, if we tabled and got you guys together to have the discussions on, hey, let's make sure we're all holding up our end of the bargain, would that be suitable? And
Yeah, I think you need to talk to the neighborhood a little bit too, about the neighborhood.
Well,
The neighborhood there about the vehicle traffic.
they were all
And
notified.
They've all been notified.
Yeah.
So we did send letters.
Okay.
So 250 feet, so about right there, they all received letters about
They all did
this.
say they received them, so.
Yep. And we're saying you guys need to get together. We're not organizing it. That's going to be on you guys.
You know, and then one last thing, just the other night, there's, I don't know if this is part of them or not, but the intermodal just pulls in and, detaches and parks there all night. So, we're getting that, and that's happening right behind the buildings. I think we need some control on what's going on back there.
Yeah. Was there other?
And I'm willing to work with them. I'm not opposed to that, but I think we need to, I think the neighbors need to be involved too.
So Ray, to Dan's point, and I'm sympathetic with his position and kind of what we're somewhat proposing, in the fact that your expectations of what could happen could be way out of line or way different than what the board's is, and then he can't get an agreement with you. Dan's suggestion, my concerns are how the trucks are entering and leaving the property, and kind of the screening of this area. Are those?
That's my
Are
concern.
those
It's the truck
two-
traffic and noise in my building, and then just the kind of visibility of the whole
Okay.
back.
And then Dan, at some point, if you could talk about your thoughts on trucks entering and leaving at the light, I guess like your thoughts. And why do you think they're telling the trucks to go this way?
Well, I kind of wonder if it goes back to when the school was possibly there and they would have a lot of pedestrian traffic there up by the front of the school, and maybe they directed that traffic the other way because of that, and whether that's maybe not viable anymore.
And that concerns me a little too.
Okay.
I've got trucks running in and out here, but I got the people coming in and out of the parking lot too. And then you'd have the same situation up here. If you got trucks, then you got the bank, with people coming out of the bank there.
So I know we have some other folks here that are in that area. Is there anything that anybody else in the crowd wanted to add about this project?
Do you want to add anything? Did you want to add anything? Did you want to add anything? Yes.
If you can come forward and introduce yourself.
Sorry, I have bad ringing in the ears. So I did not hear what was discussed, but is this the little pointer thingy?
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, that only point that the semis have, I live directly across, thank you. I live directly across from the psychiatric center, so those trucks are in and out of there all day and at night. I cannot imagine putting more trucks and industrial equipment or whatever they want to do over there. I don't understand if the people in countryside development there along that border, why they weren't given a notice of the zoning as well, because they have to put up with the trucks from coming from the back of that lot and then all the way down there. Now, when that trucking company opened, my neighbor told me that they had agreed to put up a fence, which I believe they did, but it's a chain link fence. Now, if I owned a home on in that countryside development right there, you're getting all the dust, the noise, not only from trucks, but the equipment that's moved in and out.
Real quick, ma'am.
I'm sorry?
All those property owners received a letter.
Did they? Okay,
Yes.
good. Because like I said, I live right across the street. I can't imagine being a patient at the psychiatric center and you're in for therapy, a therapy session with your counselor, and you've got running up and down there, okay? And as a property owner, I also have to be a little concerned about our property values. Okay, you add more industrial, more semis across the street. That's going to affect our property values. People aren't going to want to buy a house where they have semis and equipment moving in and out there all the time. And from what I understand, it might help if they were allowed to use the access there at the light by the church. But from what I understand, they're only allowed to go in and out at that single point.
One of the items that we want to consider,
Oh, definitely.
and Dan's going to speak to it, is the possibility of using this light.
I don't understand why you can't.
And that's what we're going to.
It's a light.
Yeah, we're asking that question.
You know, it'll lighten up the traffic on that end. I have my windows shut. I have central air, so my windows aren't open. My bathroom is on the back side of my house. When I was getting ready this morning, what do I hear? And yes, they're not supposed to jake brake, but some of them do. That's a little aggravating. But as I said, as a property owner, I'm concerned about the noise. I'm concerned about my property value being affected. Okay, that's all I have. My home is my security. And if it's hurt because there's semis running around and other industrial stuff, and it's been like that for years. I worked for a company, Cooper used that back as a warehouse. And our company moved their equipment in and out. It was nothing like it is today. We have 3 times the traffic with that trucking company. And if we get more, it's only going to get worse. And I really like where I live. I like my neighbors. I'd hate to sell, but if it gets bad, I'm not gonna have a choice. I have to protect my home. My neighbors are not happy about this either. They weren't happy about the trucking company coming in there to begin with. The only reason my neighbor was content was because they said they would build a fence. She thought they were going to build like a privacy fence blocking off the trailers and things. I said, no, they won't do that. They need that open area. So when you consider the business aspect, I just ask that you also consider those of us who live around that and have to deal with that, the noise and et cetera. For me, though, with the ringing in my ears, I don't always hear it, but, you know, a lot of people do. So I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that wanted to speak? All right, Dan, can you just touch real quick on the truck route item?
Well, again, just to reiterate, since 1950, this has been an industrial use throughout the property. Ray even mentioned when he bought it, he knew it was business and technology. It was an industrial use then. So the use has not changed. We understand, when it was industrial, you could, so I guess just going back, it's been industrial since the inception. With regards to the truck traffic, the biggest concern obviously is, there are still offices up in this area here. Typically, when you put together an industrial development, you try to separate the traffic, the standard vehicles from your truck traffic. When this was a school, you had parking up here, over here, Kirk did their thing back here. So this is still set up for more offices. So if you were to bring the trucks in here, now you're introducing additional safety concerns between the employees, now the bank, and everybody there. So you're still going to have a conflict between vehicles and semis. Again, when this was built, this roadway was already in. This was already an industrial use. I feel for Ray, I understand, the different changes, the more trucks. We did get some information, whether it's going to benefit, but the current operation is about at maximum 18 to 20 trucks a day, which is not a significant amount. Yes, it's more, but so the current operations, there are a few, there are trucks coming in and out of there. Timing wise, I can't speak for that. I haven't been there. We can do some research on what that is, see if they can try to confine it to more of normal business day operations. So, again, it's been industrial. The city switched it over to commercial. However, it happened. So we feel kind of unjust the fact that we have to come in front of you guys to try to get this rezoned back to something it was already occupying since the 1950s because of a mistake in the maps. So that's where the frustration is on my client's part, is why are they here? Because the map was changed. It was done through the papers. It was not an individual notice to every property owner. And I know, me personally, when the zoning map did get changed, I was in here, a good 10, 15, 20 times to get properties rezoned back to what they were before because of the overall map update. So it's just it's a little frustrating for my clients because it has been an industrial building for all these years. The maps changed, however it did, and now they got to go through all of this. So it's just, I understand where you're coming from with regards to the screening, stuff like that. That does not seem to be an issue with my client. It's something we can work out. So, I guess at this point we're at your mercy. But again, I understand the neighbors with the additional trucks that were there. Industrial operations change with different users. But again, it's been that way, for a long time.
So Dan, just two quick comments, and then I think we're ready to vote on this. Understand the frustration. Obviously, again, can't re-litigate the past. I guess my only comment would be, you guys were in here, whoever the owner was, 2-3 years ago, because it's been since I've been in office that we were dealing with the property, and we're the ones that said we needed the fence, we needed the screening, we needed storage, confined. So.
I understand that. That's something.
It wasn't that long ago that you were very informed of what was going on this property. So, and you kind of made my point there at the end, is industrial operations can change, and that's my exact concern. This is intense enough. If we give you the industrial classification, that opens it to even more intense. And so that's what we need to mitigate, is how can we mitigate any invasive actions that happen here. I'm glad to hear the property owner and the tenants are willing to work to address the concerns. I think that will go a long way. And until then, I'm not comfortable considering the rezone. Any final comments?
Yeah, one way to mitigate this would be can you slide this drawing down can we get out the Bright Road here?
Can
you slide that down, Matt?
I don't think that really, from an access standpoint, is a good. We don't want an access right next to the railroad track.
That's the start of the turn lane. I think the city's going to have issues with, because isn't that part of the ODOT funding and stuff when you guys do roadway and stuff like that?
I don't know the specifics, but from an access
Obviously,
standpoint,
we don't
access
own
next to a railroad
that
track is
property
not
there.
good.
This is a busy intersection. Putting another access point out that way, I think, would be detrimental to.
Well, that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
Come on, Dan.
Jeez.
Oh my gosh.
I'll never suggest that again. All right.
But it would.
But
if you had another access, it would relieve it. But unfortunately, with the proximity of the turn lane and the railroad tracks, I think it'd be difficult to get the city to bite on that.
We have an access right here. What is this?
That's for the bank.
Let's just tap in right there.
So
I know you don't like the idea, Dan.
One thing about the access too, back when it was the old RCA, that little side road down there where I'm at used to just be like a little road where the cars came in. All the truck traffic all came in.
Oh, the trucks came in here?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a long time
All right, so it seems like we kind of identified the issues related to truck routing, screening, and road maintenance. I'm going to motion that we table the application for zoning amendment ZA-09-2023 filed by Nipper Industrial Holdings LLC to rezone lots 1, 5, and 6 of the Findlay Center for Business and Technology, 1700 Fostoria Avenue, from C2 General Commercial to I1 Light Industrial, to allow the applicants time to work with the neighbors to address their concerns.
I'll second.
Any other discussion?
Who is Nipper? What do they do?
It's Kirk family of businesses.
Gotcha.
Still, okay.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, Jacob, whenever you're ready.
Mayor Barron,
Aye.
Mr. Martin,
Aye.
Mr. DeArmond,
Aye.
Ms. Schroeder,
Aye.
Mr. Klinger.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dan.
Okay.
All right.
So, I mean, is this something that you guys just want us to work with them and figure it out and bring it to you, or do you want to have involvement after we come up with a decision?
I think it's up to you guys. You know, I guess it's up to you guys. I would say, you know, neighborhood, we're not gonna be extreme here, right? We're not just gonna, if you refuse to make an agreement, go along, you know, allow that to kill it completely. I think it's a good faith negotiation. I think the concerns of the commission are the truck routing and how we can mitigate that as much as possible. The road maintenance, making sure that we're following up with the documents previously in place, and then the screening and addressing the previous concerns with providing a green space buffer as much as possible, as well as maybe looking at the fencing.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
I'd rather see it go through staff before it comes back here, honestly.
Yeah, feel free to call us and we'll consult, but I think that those are the main things, and we're not just gonna.
Okay. Like I said, I just want to make sure we have some type of protocol, because I don't want to come back here and say, well, you know, we don't like this and this and this. You know, when we work with them.
I agree. I think, you know, there's a sense of fairness from my standpoint, and you've made excellent points. Since the building was built in 1954, has a long history of industrial. You know, if a neighbor says my only recourse is that it's not zoned light industrial, to me that's not necessarily a fair request. My three main points are the same points that the mayor stated. Probably the two most important, in my opinion, are if there can be a screen along this roadway to kind of mitigate the visual impact of this. The second is truck routing. And then third, and it's somewhat least important or less important, because we just have not heard an uproar of concern from this neighborhood. They've been notified several times.
Right.
And there is an existing kind of buffer there, but investigation if there needs to be more buffering here. Those are my three concerns that I think we're aware of, and if those can be addressed, then I would feel really good about it.
I have one thing too. If you can go back to the owner, we recognize the outdoor storage to be that fenced-in area to the north. If they are planning to expand
That area?
No, it's like the fenced-in area right in the center, right there, where they
There
had all the
is a
construction
fence.
materials.
Yeah.
But it's
It's kind of semi-fenced. If they're planning on expanding that for storage of these semi-trailers or trailers in general, that has to be an expanded conditional use for outdoor storage. So if they're going to expand that at all, it needs to come back to the City Planning Commission.
There's a lot of product that's stored out right in this area right now too, not just trucks. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
That was recognized as outdoor storage back when it came through in
Yeah.
17 or 18, 19, whenever it was. But there was a fence in the front, and I think it was a white
may,
aluminum.
That may have been, as I look back, that may have been a communication issue. I think the assumption is the fencing would be opaque, or would be a visual barrier, and I don't know if it's chain link, but it's a bad word. It's a clear fence that you can just see everything. So,
And it was more for their security, so they could.
but, you know, I think you've been given kind of the three items, and, you know, everything might not be perfectly possible with the truck traffic, but we'd definitely like you to look at it.
Hearing no other discussions, this meeting of the City Planning Commission is adjourned.
Since this was tabled, it won't be discussed at planning and zoning. So, they'll just be notified it's tabled, and then they'll hear it the next month.
It's only 11 though. That's pretty good. Not even 11.
What are you up to?
No cricket, no more.
I was worried I was gonna hop on my foot.
Totally retired, hanging out at the lake and being a bum. It was a tough transition.
I guess. That's the best use I've seen of one.
I'm adjusting to it. It's kind of like me thinking about it, but I don't want to.
Did you bring that in with you just to try to?
I'm glad I have it.
Oh my God. Don't say that. No, I've never seen a cover.
I do that.